Me, a Disney fan? I don't even care. That darn movie show. Hey guys, how's it going? It's Grace here. So I finally had a chance to see the latest from Brad Bird and Walt Disney Pictures, and that is Tomorrowland. So yeah, I did have a lot riding on this because not only am I a huge Disney fan, but I am a huge fan of the parks in particular. They were a huge part of my childhood, imprinted into my brain from a very early age. I actually lived for like the first 4 years of my life in Prague in the Czech Republic. That was around 1990. I won't bore you guys with the details, but historically it was a little bit of a grim time for the place. Like, all my earliest memories were of the colour grey. So I think my parents, to stop me from getting traumatised or something, used to take me to Disneyland Paris every Christmas. And I had so many formative experiences there. Like, I had my first slice of pizza there. Like, my two favourite things in the world are Disneyland and pizza. So yeah, I had really high expectations for this movie because I guess I'm so familiar with the real Tomorrowland and kind of the history behind it, because I think that section of the park had a real significance for Walt Disney beyond just pure entertainment. He really wanted to use that space to inspire people to create and to innovate, because this guy was always looking towards the future. He was always looking towards how we can build a better world. The actual original idea for Epcot, which is obviously now in Florida, was to build a city from scratch, and he was talking about this idea on his deathbed even, and he really believed that these things were possible because the guy was just an eternal optimist. And I think that's one of the things I love the most about the whole Disney mindset, is that idea that truly anything is possible as long as we believe in it. And I loved this movie. I loved Tomorrowland because it so perfectly captures that idea. It understands what Walt wanted the most. And I know I've said in the past that I get quite emotional over movies, and I definitely teared up in a major way over this because I just started thinking about how proud Walt would be if he had a chance to see this movie, and if he knew that his company were carrying on his ideas like 50 years after his death. It's too much for my tiny heart. I mean, this movie is ultra Disney. It is the most Disney. It imagines Tomorrowland as this place just as Walt wanted, where we can make our wildest dreams come true, where there's no barrier to the imagination, not money, not power, not government. We're just free to create. And in that way, it's actually surprisingly critical of the fact that NASA shut down its space shuttle program in 2011. The protagonist, Casey, her dad, is actually a NASA engineer who's about to be put out of a job because of it, and we sort of first see her trying to retaliate against that in some way. Its point basically is that we've sort of given up hope on a better future. There's a scene kind of early on of sort of Casey's day at school, and she's going from class to class to class of teachers going, "Oh, the planet's got a one-way ticket to dystopia. Oh, nuclear holocaust, climate change, collapsing governments." And Casey's there and she's trying to put her hand up and she's trying to ask, well, can we fix it? And no one's really listening to her. And that's sort of true in a way. We don't really pay so much attention to the Walt Disneys of the world anymore. We focus in so much on the problems of the world, and we sort of stop there. We don't go, okay, yes, this is happening and it's awful, but what can we do to change it? And it's kind of funny / sad that this movie did flop on its opening weekend, considering that two of the other biggest movies out right now are San Andreas, which is about an earthquake which destroys all of California, and of course Mad Max Fury Road. Obviously, Fury Road did really well at the box office because it is the best! But there is a line in Tomorrowland which is basically like, about how we've sprinted towards the apocalypse with gleeful abandon. Whoa, damn Disney, that is some pure shade. Obviously now everyone sort of wants the apocalypse to happen so we can all drive around in spiky cars covered in flamethrowers and dudes playing guitar. You got us, Disney. You got us good. So yeah, at the center of this movie is very much Casey, and she is, in a sense, Walt Disney, I guess, because she goes through this entire movie just constantly excited by the world and hopeful and optimistic. She is the person who says, yeah, there's problems with the world, but there's also no problem that we can't fix. And I think this will be the dividing line between whether people like or dislike this movie. I am very pro-optimism. I'm always really negative about stuff, but I want to be like Casey. I strive to be like Casey because I think believing in yourself and believing that you can achieve these things is actually half the battle. But I do think as well there will be people who find Casey quite naive and will find this entire movie quite naive. So I think truly cynical people will find this movie quite annoying. So just warning you guys. But I didn't. I loved Casey, and also shout out to all the teen girl scientists of the world. You rock my heart! I loved the actress they got for this role, Britt Robertson. I can kind of tell that on the casting brief they must have basically been like, just get us Jennifer Lawrence, but more teenager. But I think, like Lawrence, Robertson is so great in this role because she is so grounded in the moment. Her reactions to all this crazy, weird future stuff are so realistic that it does help to make the weirder aspects of this movie a bit more believable. I think if you are a Disney fan, particularly at the parks, you'll enjoy all the little like nods and references that this movie makes. There's been a lot of focus on the visual elements of this film, and I think to me they just felt really familiar because I think they really perfectly captured that style of Tomorrowland and that very 1960s clean futurist aesthetic. Space Mountain obviously makes a cameo in this movie, but they also do quite heavily feature the 1964 New York's World Fair, where Walt actually debuted a whole bunch of the rides that eventually ended up in the park. Particularly It's a Small World, which does have a role to play in this movie, and also a ride called the Carousel of Progress, which now only exists in the Florida park, but you can hear the song from that ride in this movie. It's a great big beautiful tomorrow, which I think is such a pure song. It's such a sweet song, and I think to me it really sums up so much of what Tomorrowland is about, both as the land and the park, and also Brad Bird's movie. So I'm not going to ignore the fact that this movie has been getting criticism for not necessarily making a huge amount of sense in places or narratively being a little bit messy. And so I try to go back over the movie in my head and kind of deconstruct it in that way, but I just kept being drawn back to this one idea of just this one kid somewhere out there seeing this movie and being so inspired by its message that, you know, nothing is inevitable as long as you keep hope alive within yourself, hearing that message and, you know, going off and doing something incredible, something that actually changes the world. And so I don't know. I'm sure this movie has definite problems, but I was obviously too inspired and too filled with wonderment to care. So if you've had a chance to see Tomorrowland, I would love to know what you guys thought. Were you filled with inspiration and wonderment like me, or did you think that this movie had major problems? You can let me know by commenting down below, or you can tweet at me here. And also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe so we can hang out and talk about movies all day. So you guys have a great week, and I'll see you all soon. Bye!